So what is up, guys? Welcome back to the More Nick Ackerman channel. In this episode, I'm going to talk to you about my Galaxy Z Fold 5 and give you my honest user review. Now, I typically don't cover, folding phones too much on my main channel because that channel is dedicated more towards iPhone Galaxy S comparisons. So I'm going to be covering like the Z Fold here on this channel, maybe the Flip in the future. I'm going to cover some phones I don't really cover over there on the main channel. And so I want to talk about why I've just been loving this phone. This is an honest user's review. This is not going to be just specs. So I got the beige case here, the slim S Pen case. We'll just start with that since I'm going to take it off in a second here. It fits tighter, a little bit better than the older Samsung cases have fit on the phone. I do like that. Also, they're right when they say it's slim because the S Pen goes inside the body of this case. And it's a very slim S Pen, it works pretty well. It's not quite as bulky as the other, Galaxy Z Fold 4's S Pen, but at the same time, this S Pen, it makes more sense on a phone, in my opinion, than the bigger pen because you want this thing to be portable. So when it comes to the actual phone itself, I really have been enjoying the flat nature of the Z Fold 5. It definitely makes it feel more refined. And as somebody who has been using the Galaxy Z Fold series since the original Z Fold, this has been enjoyable. Honestly, it seems like nothing when you are watching reviews, but this is kind of similar to what Apple does in refining their products. You kind of feel the refinement and the dedication of Samsung trying to make this phone just feel like the most polished it can be in this current form. Now, it's not super exciting to have this thinner screen on the front or this more narrow screen versus some of the larger competitors that are coming out on a front display. But there's a reason why I think Samsung might actually have a winner here still, even though they decided to keep this. I'll talk about that a little bit more later. But the fingerprint sensor is very nice. It's super responsive, and they have this feature where you don't accidentally enable it. But another thing I really notice is that the hinge is just so much better. It feels super smooth when you open it up. And I just got to tell you that it's just one of those feel things that when you're using the phone, you just feel it and you enjoy that your hinge is very solid. Now, this is still a flexible OLED panel. So on the inside, we do have, you have to be careful. You can't be digging your nails into this display. You should actually keep your nails cut, honestly, if you're going to be using this phone to kind of avoid that. And also, I would say that, you don't want to get like sand and dust in here, even though it probably would survive. You wouldn't want to mess up anything. But just overall, just a very refined, more polished version of the Z Fold than I seen from last year. Although it's super similar to the Z Fold 4, that hinge to me makes all the difference because it's silent. It's much quieter. It just feels so much better. And also it's, again, the flat folding design. It feels like it's like almost to the point where it's super polished. One thing I don't like though, is that they didn't make any improvements to this under display camera. So let's go somewhere with a white screen on board and we'll see if we can, get to see what I'm talking about here. So you can see up here, there is a punch hole right there. Now that's pretty much the same as last year. That didn't change at all. Once you notice that, you kind of can't unsee it, but at the same time, it's a much better version than having some big cutout up there as well. I just want them to improve that, make it a little bit less noticeable as well. But this inner display experience has been awesome, and mostly for the fact that you can go ahead and split screen multitask very simply. You also have this little dock down here, which allows you to hop between different apps very easily. And one of my favorite things is that you can do triple applications on here. Plus, you can move these around and stuff like that. So if you click right here, you can like pull it down like this. You can drag them over. You can make them smaller. I mean, the level of multitasking on here is amazing. But here's where it's even better than last year. The improved Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 means this phone never warms up. Like, it's super freaking good when it comes to the performance with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. That's what I've been experiencing, is just blazing fast, basically perfect performance. There hasn't been no stutters, no delays. It's literally like that good. Like, it's a perfect performer in terms of a daily phone. And I love that. Now, what I really enjoy about this phone as well is that when you go to the outer screen, while this screen is narrow, I actually quite like this. At first I was like, come on, make a bigger screen, but I'm starting to dig this, and here's why. Because when I'm on the home screen and the day to day, when you're doing your daily tasks, you don't want to be distracted by some massive screen pulling you in all the time. This phone feels like a quick task screen on the front. So you just use it like do a quick task here and there, reply to a text message. And while it is a little bit cramped, we have heard complaints from other reviewers that it's cramped. I got pretty big hands, and you know what happens? Instead of using this phone like a two-handed phone where your thumbs will be playing some games with each other, you end up just using this in one hand if you have bigger hands. And so what that means is that this phone is pretty nice to go ahead and text on. So let's go ahead and open up a note here. All right, so let's go ahead and show you what I'm talking about. So because the keyboard's more narrow, you don't want to type like this. Samsung definitely designed this to be more of a phone you use on the inside with that. But when you do use this on the inside, that inner display experience with the keyboard is amazing in this orientation. Close it up though. On the front, I find myself just using the swipe text. Hey, this is cool. And I'm not making an excuse that Samsung shouldn't push the envelope forward and basically make a bigger version of this. They should make a Galaxy Z Fold device that has a bigger front display. But as in its current form, I really like how this feels like a one-handed phone. This actually feels the most narrow since like when I was using the iPhone SE back in the day. iPhone SE. And I quite like this because during the day, it feels like on the front, I have a phone that feels like a one-handed, just easy to use smaller device. And then later on, when I'm done with my daily tasks and I'm not moving about and out and about in the world, I just open it up, I kick back, relax, and I open up some applications. I check the weather. I go in here and I watch some YouTube videos. I read my applications with text. I play a video game here and there. And I just have a great time on the inside. It's just a fantastic experience. It's like the ultimate entertainment device. Now, if I click the rotation, you can also use it in this angle. And then, just like the other Z Folds, you can use this flex mode right here. You can bend it. There's another thing that's really cool about this phone as well. It's pretty versatile. When I'm pretty sure you use your phone in bed sometimes. Sometimes you need it to be on an angle and it just kind of falls around. But with this phone, you could just prop it on that angle, kick back, relax, and use the phone. So that's pretty cool as well. Also, even though the phone itself, I found didn't get, much lighter than the last phone, every bit counts, and being a little bit lighter has made this phone feel even more manageable. The iPhone 14 Pro Max with my case is actually heavier than this device. So, the thing though about the Z Fold though, is that the Z Fold feels more dense. It just feels like the weight is more felt because it's kind of like all compacted into this form factor. It's not really spread out across a wide body. So what you have is this like little brick feeling phone here, but at the same time, it's not horrible. You can definitely deal with it, but you'll still feel it in your pocket. This is no light boy over here. Now the USB-C on the bottom has been blazing fast. I transfer easily to other products, and the speakers on here are also quite good, especially with the Dolby Atmos enabled. I also quite liked how the cameras don't really, stick too far off the body. They're pretty flush. They're not super flush, but they're pretty decent. Although I do want to see Samsung improve the cameras here. Overall, I want to see the better camera results. They moved the flash over here, and it's actually underneath the glass. You can't really feel into it. It's underneath. But just a very nice color here, the icy blue. I quite like this color. I like those, custom colors as well because they have the matte edges, which are clean looking, but at the same time, this has been pretty solid phone here, 5G device. Open up the camera too. I gotta say that they definitely improved the results in one particular way I've noticed. It's just kind of like they're sharper. So when you take a photo, you get these like really sharp results from the camera. So when you zoom in, you just notice that they're doing some sharpening after. And it just gives me a more pleasing result because I always sharpen my photos anyway after I take a photo. So the sandwich I had yesterday, a little turkey and lettuce, but like definitely, you get pretty decent results on here overall. It's not going to be the best camera in the world though. You're definitely going to get better results on the S23 Ultra. And it seems like Samsung is saving their best camera work for the more premium options out there. But at this price point, I really want to see Samsung just make this a pro camera already. But you still get all the suite of features that you would get on other Samsung phones. And it just makes it really versatile. And how could I make a Z Fold review without talking about the cover screen camera where you could use the back cameras? Now, personally, this is amazing. It gives you super sharp rear results, although I don't always want to see every little zit and pimple and mole and every little thing on my face. So I don't always use it. I still use that front one sometimes. But if you want to go to the most quality level, this is definitely going to be good for you right here. I don't like how close the camera is though on the UHD 60. But again, you have 8K video on here. This is pretty neat as well. Let me go ahead and go back to the inner display now. We'll come back over here. And yeah, so that's pretty neat. Now, another thing is that there's a lot of customization in this phone. So if you really love to customize your device, just like other Galaxies, you can do that. And if I go over here to the home screen, let me go up here. You're going to see if you scroll down to advanced features, we have this labs feature where you can basically use a flex mode panel right here if you want to use that. Landscape view for portrait apps. Multi-window for all applications. So the software in here is much more polished. They have the best foldable software, period. It's just they've set up the phone to where even if there's like issues with the way a foldable app loads or looks, at least it will stretch on the screen and kind of look like it was made for a foldable. So this is the best foldable experience out there, bar none, I think right now. Even though I don't think it's better front display than the Pixel Fold, this is definitely quite nice. And they got all the other Samsung features. I also wanted to mention that you have to have an S Pen Pro to, I think, do those like S23 Ultra features. But this S Pen does the basics and it does it very well. I'm still annoyed that they don't have it on the front screen. Like, why not give us that as well? We're paying nearly $2,000 for this phone. And yeah, so the S Pen works very well. And surprisingly, hey, it doesn't really, you don't really feel the crease too much. Although if you don't press down enough, you can miss it over the crease. But it does pretty well. Honestly, this is just a pretty good S Pen for sure. I also wanted to mention before we wrap it up here is that the Z Fold 5, one of the reasons I actually had the Z Fold 4, I traded in my Z Fold 4. I was really contemplating sending this back when I first seen it because I wasn't really giving it a shot. I just looked at it, I was like, this is the same phone. But it's not really the same phone. It's the same looking phone, but it's kind of like when you go from a, 12 Pro Max to a 13 or a 14 Pro Max, where it's kind of like it looks the same, but it has these little polished upgrades. That's kind of what it feels like. And one of the things that really drew me to this is while the crease is still visible, the crease on here is not as bad as the one on the Z Fold 4. The Z Fold 4 crease is far more noticeable to me than the one on the Z Fold 5. And that's something I don't know if we're ever going to get rid of, but anytime a crease looks less visible, I'm taking it. So definitely the Z Fold 5, I've been loving this phone. It is an ultimate device here for those of you who want a all-in-one kind of little product right here. It's like the ultimate travel device as well. You don't need to bring your tablet and your phone. You just bring this device right here. I should mention battery life before we get up out of here. I almost forgot that. At first, it was horrible. I'm going to be honest with you. When I was first setting it up, this thing couldn't make it a few hours. Now I'm getting a whole day of battery life pretty easily, especially when I use the outer display for the majority of the day. But when I start going on the inner display, I can kill it pretty quickly with heavier YouTube use and stuff like that. But honestly, this has been pretty solid. I can get through a full day with this phone. 12 gigs of RAM, Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. It's optimized, never really gets too hot. This is an amazing phone here, even though the phone itself is not very different from prior editions. So if you're looking for, the best Samsung phone out there, this is definitely up there with them, especially if you want to try out something folding. The flip phone is pretty cool as well with its front cover screen, but this is my honest review, and it's been a pretty excellent product all around. Fast charging. The main thing I want to see them improve is a bigger outer display, better cameras. They need to upgrade the cameras, maybe get that punch hole camera on the inside a little bit less visible, and durability is great on here, but it can always be improved. not much more. Samsung is perfecting their foldable product, and I gotta say, this is the best time ever. If you can cop a really good deal on this, which you still can with trade-ins, this is an amazing product right here for sure. However, some people still won't like its form factor, so it's not for everybody. Thumbs up if you enjoyed this. Subscribe for more videos like this. Again, I'm going to cover some other phones I don't typically cover on the main channel around these parts, so be subscribed for that. But definitely be subscribed for more Nick Ackerman. I'll catch you on the next episode. Be sure to be well. Nick here, and peace.